Hi everyone, this is Roxyn. Welcome back to my channel. We have a crazy story time for you by a poster on Reddit. And this format has been edited for clarity, for language, and as well to protect the innocent and guilty. I am out of the basement and ready to read you the story. I hope you will enjoy. How I ruined my mother's life and her reputation. My name is Penelope, female and 40 years old as of this writing. Here is my story of how I ruined my mom's life and her reputation. Grab some popcorn, my dear reader. My parents, Robert, 63 years old, and Peggy Sue, 60 years old, have been married for 43 years. I have six siblings who are 42 years old, female, 38 female, 34 female, 20 male, 20 male, and 18 male. I have been with my husband, Sean, 39 years old, since we were 15. I got pregnant at 17 and we moved in with my parents. I gave birth to my now 22-year-old daughter. Shortly after, we got married at 18. My grandfather, Dad's father, passed shortly after our wedding and left his ranch style house to my father. My grandparents built a house next door to my parents when they retired. My parents decided to let us live in this house and told us this would be my inheritance. Sean and I had no issues with this. We went on to have three children who are 20 years old, male, 14 female, 5 female, and I am currently 7 months pregnant with my last child, a boy, due in April of 2022. I thought I had a good marriage. We were intimate more than twice a week. We went on date nights, we bought each other gifts, and we didn't fight. Suddenly, my entire world was shattered on New Year's Eve when I returned early from a girls' trip I had taken with some friends. I walked into my bedroom to find my mom, Peggy Sue, having intercourse with Sean. My mother screamed at me to get out of their quote unquote bedroom, which really shook me up even more. I couldn't believe what was happening. Unfortunately, my oldest daughter, 14, was also home in her bedroom across the house, getting ready for a party. She ran out and witnessed my all but bedsheet nude mother run out of her house next door to her house and slam the door. My daughter was devastated and went to my sister's house. I asked her not to say anything until I first talked to Sean. I asked him for the truth. He told me that my mom seduced him when we were 18 and living in their house. They'd been having unprotected whoopee at least once a month for longer than we were married. I did the math and was horrified. The timeline meant my twin brothers and a younger brother could be my husband's. I immediately called my dad and told him to come to my house without my mom. I made Sean confess, and my dad was devastated. My parents were high school sweethearts. A bit later, we could hear my mother screaming from their house when Dad confronted her. Then I told my older sister what happened. We decided to have her throw a party for the whole extended family, and we even invited my ex's family. At the party, I had my 22-year-old daughter take all the kids to her basement and put on a movie, leaving only the adult children and siblings. I told them what Sean and Peggy Sue had been doing this whole time. Most of the family is on my side, except my three youngest siblings, my 38-year-old sister, and my ex's entire family. They all say I'm an idiot for dropping this news publicly. Word got out, and my mom's best friend, Sarah, who is on leadership at my mom's church, which was my childhood church as well, called me to verify the story. My mom has since been let go as the children's pastor, and she claims I ruined her reputation and life. My dad kicked her out, and she's now living with my 38-year-old sister. And lastly, my dad insists on a DNA test for the three youngest boys before he'd even consider anything to do with their marriage. The twins are Sean's biological children. I've since kicked him out, and he's living with his parents. My father and I discussed me moving into his much larger house, then him selling my grandfather's house, and him giving me the money to buy a new house somewhere else to get rid of the memories. Sean is appalled and furious that I proved he actually is about to have 7 kids instead of 5, that I'm going to be taking half of his business away from him. My husband started his own HVAC company business years back, and for the first 5 years, I helped him get it set up, ran the office completely, and took time away from my teaching career to help him get this established. In my state, all marital assets, including businesses, are split 50-50. Since the house was still in my father's name, my husband will get no money from the sale, nor will my mother, since inherited assets are not subject to be split in divorces. My mother is also likely to not get any alimony, as our state is not a no-fault divorce state. I'm now over a month removed, still extremely bitter and angry at my mother, especially at her hypocrisy of calling me a witch and shaming my family when she's done much worse. I despise Sean with every fiber of my being, as he was doing both my mom and me in some instances, coming to our bed minutes later. He got my mother pregnant less than a week after getting me pregnant, and what I thought it was so cute and fun that I shared a pregnancy experience with my mom, she was carrying my children's half siblings. He has broken all trust I had in men and being faithful. I have already procured a good lawyer from the firm that helped us in financial matters for both me and my dad is helping me pay for it. My twin brothers, one of my sisters, and my entire ex's family have ghosted me and my minor children. My children have essentially lost all of their grandparents, but my dad, 2 uncles, and an aunt on my side, and my husband's 3 brothers, due to this mess. I've also developed ulcers and digestive issues because of this, so I'll be visiting the doctor soon, and I've been in therapy since the first week of January. I've offered this for my 2 adult children if they need family therapy with all of us, but they've they're doing individual therapy right now. My 14-year-old knows that we're getting divorced and why, and she's so angry at her dad that I struggle sending her to his house on the weekends. I feel like she's old enough to make a decision on that, but I don't want to damage her relationship with her dad. I've told all of my kids it's okay to love their dad even if he hurt me, but the oldest two have cut him off 100%. I won't tell my youngest two until their teens why we got divorced, and everyone else has agreed to not spill anything until they're old enough to understand. As for how, I had no idea this affair was ongoing. My husband confirmed to me that they would have intercourse at my mom's office, at church, in their cars, at a motel, and when we built the business, they started having it routinely in his office. Once I went back to teaching, they also had it in our houses too when my father would go away on business trips or I'd be out of town. It was pure happenstance that I came home a day early from my trip because I was uncomfortable from being nearly 7 months pregnant and just wanted to be in my own bed for me to find out, knowing they'd be carrying on this whole full blown affair. Still, if I hadn't caught them, is what I'm still upset about. The fact that the grandmother and the father of my children cared so little about destroying our families is what I can't get past. What's hardest for me is that my own mother would do this to me and would continue to do this for years and not caring when it all blew up in her face that she would be destroying her entire family. To add insult to injury, Sean confirmed in one of our mediated conversations that the affair started when I apparently made him angry. He didn't tell me and instead vented to my mom when they were alone. She comforted him, and they had intercourse. He loved it and then pursued her after that. He said he would have divorced me, but knew he'd get cut off from her, and she was so much better at making love than me, so he stuck it out with me. He told me I was a placeholder. Of all the betrayal and low blows, that statement is what keeps me up at night. The too long didn't read version, or didn't listen version, I guess you would say. My mom made whoopee with my husband for 22 years, got pregnant with twins, continued the affair until I caught them in bed together on New Year's Eve. While I was nearly 7 months pregnant, I publicly exposed it, and my mom lost her job, her marriage, and is homeless. And Penelope provided the following updates. Pardon, I tried hard to go the route of a meditate. Pardon me. I tried hard to go the route of a mediated divorce, but Sean told me yesterday through his lawyers that he doesn't believe that the baby I'm carrying is his. He wants a DNA test as soon as he's born because he doesn't want to support a child that isn't his. Also, Sean believes I routinely cheated on him through our marriage and that I knew about his ongoing affair and used that as my excuse to have my own affairs. None of that is true, but I kind of wish it was because it would make the divorce easier. Essentially, my lawyers told me to get ready for a long, drawn out, brutally contested divorce and that my ex is likely going to try every underhanded tactic in the book to make my life even more miserable. My story has gone viral on Twitter, and thanks to the people who let me know in my direct messages. So I will answer some question posts both here and there. My twin brothers look like Peggy Sue's side of the family. They look very close to my uncle and grandfather. They clearly don't look like my dad at all, but they also don't resemble my husband much either. My son looks like Sean, and he's the only child that you can visibly tell is his kid, although my 14-year-old daughter has his nose and jaw shape. I was definitely raised the day everything went down, but my dad talked me out of doing in Sean and reminded me that I needed to think of my baby and my other kids before I do something that would remove both of their parents from their lives. That is what spared them. I still live in a rage fog for the next few days, which is what led to the revenge party. I only regret not telling my brothers privately that Peggy Sue had been cheating. I honestly don't know all the reasons why my 38-year-old sister is on my mom's side. She doesn't get along with me or my sisters and hasn't since high school. I'm not that worried about her. My twin brothers are upset that I sprung the news publicly. That is what that is what my dad has gotten out of them. They are also in therapy and my dad has told me to just give them time. He thinks it's just something He thinks it's just them finding out from me instead of Peggy Sue. I did not tell them the possibility that my ex was their dad, but they can do the math to figure out that they are the same age as my son and he's younger than the length of the affair. My dad sat them down and explained his reasoning for the DNA test, which was to prove cheating and not because he was going to abandon them. He is their dad regardless of whose sperm fertilized the egg. I don't believe that Peggy Sue and Sean waited until he was 18 to have intercourse, but at this point, I'm letting my dad fight that fight and letting him do what he needs to when dealing with her and their divorce. I have a contingency plans. I have contingency plans ready to enact in the event they decide to move in together, but my lawyer doesn't believe my ex is stupid enough to do that with the proceedings turning ugly. I forgot to add this earlier. My husband is 4 months younger than me. My birthday is in December and his is in April. He will be 40 soon. We were in the same graduating class all throughout school from kindergarten through high school. He's now a full year younger than me, as others have speculated. I'm focusing on my pregnancy, my kids, and moving on. I may provide an update after divorces are finalized, but thanks everyone for the support and advice. Thanks for letting this hormonal, sad, ragey, bitter woman vent and get this off her chest. I had a phone call conversation with my aunt today, Peggy Sue's sister, and she told me there is a family history of cheating in our family on their side. My grandma cheated on my grandpa for years, but they reconciled. My aunt herself had multiple emotional affairs, but is still married to my uncle. She tried blaming genetics on my mom's affair. I laughed aloud at the absurdity at that attempt to justify her affair, and my aunt is now mad at me for not hearing Peggy Sue out and her expectations and her explanations for cheating. My dad and Laura both say I should hear her out, so I'm considering doing it right before we meet in early March to establish custody. I should mention that I asked my aunt if my mama inherited the call girl gene, which child did she pass it on to, and how did my grandmother manage to pass it on to both her daughters? So that's possible. So that's probably why she's mad in retrospect. I've honestly lost all sympathy for cheaters at this. I've honestly lost all sympathy for cheaters after this. The end for now. And may I wish Penelope, if you're listening, you good vibes and good luck with your divorce, if that's such a thing. And I appreciate reading your story aloud. And for anyone, please write in the comments any thoughts and questions, concerns you have about this story. And again, this post was edited for clarity, language, and name changes. I appreciate you all for watching and listening. And until next time, take care and do consider thumbsing up, liking the video, subscribing for more. And until we meet again, I will talk to you later. Goodbye.